Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, this meeting will be conducted in person and as a courtesy via remote means in accordance with applicable law. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public and board members, the meeting hearing will not be suspended or terminated if tech problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless required by law. Viewers can visit thelocalscene.media/Duxbury, formerly pac-tv, to watch a video replay of this meeting on Duxbury YouTube. So, we wanted to start off the FY, whatever it is, and two of our members have retired. Nat Taylor and Sean have both retired fully, and we thank them both for their service. They were great members, but for work reasons for one, and one is moving out of town. So, but that's the sad news. The good news is on screen is a lovely woman from town, Ashley Maher, and she has agreed to become a new member of Finance Committee. And although she was at all of our meetings last year with the select board, and we did our damnedest to talk her out of it by making her come to those, she seemed to be interested enough to volunteer, and we thank her for that. And she's been appointed, but just needs to get sworn in. So you won't be voting tonight because you haven't been sworn in, but you know, I think we'll be in fine shape other than that. But thank you so much for doing that, and you'll get to meet this motley crew. Friend.
Madam Chair, welcome, Ashley. I had the pleasure of meeting her at the 4th of July parade. Could you share with the rest of the members here a little bit about your background and what you bring to the game?
Yeah, sure. Happy to. And thank you, everybody. Nice to meet you. I am a CPA in Massachusetts. For those of you who are fellow CPAs, I did, now looking back, a short stint in public accounting and auditing at Ernst & Young. Started my career there in Boston, and got my CPA while there. And then I moved over to Liberty Mutual a couple blocks away, in Back Bay in Boston, and worked there for 12 years in operational controllership, accounting and finance roles, doing a lot of different types of management company finance in a lot of different fields, but maintained my CPA throughout. My most recent role there was in Treasury, which then I parlayed into my current role. I switched industries to private equity, and I now work at Advent, a Boston private equity firm, also in finance there as well. So bring a lot of accounts payable, traditional GL, CPA experience, Excel, all the finance things, but new to town politics.
Mary's.
Oh.
Occurred to me, since Ashley is not here, she did not get the schedule. So if you have her email address, can you forward her?
Oh, yes,
what I
let me
sent you so that
send
you can follow along.
So you can follow along.
Because this is GL and it's right up your alley.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Thank you very much.
You will go around the people that are here that obviously you know me, Kathleen Glenn, who's a member of finance.
Hi, Ashley. We met at one of the budget workshops. I'm Mary McKinnon, the finance director.
Great to see you.
Oh,
I'm
Ted.
Ted Flynn, and I'm retired as president of the CPA Society.
Oh,
Oh, fantastic. Nice to meet you.
I'll be
Same.
number geeks. Yeah.
And J.R. Kent is the member of the town.
There you go.
There you go. A citizen at
Fred Weill
large.
is the second member. Way back in the corner is
Linda O'Brien, I'm the administrative assistant. Taking notes.
Nice to meet you.
I hate to say anything, Mary, but the sound quality seems much improved. Did you do some magic here?
I have not. I have left that in the capable hands of our CTO but I'm not sure if he's
I can
starting.
really hear Ashley for a change.
Good.
Well, we gave him the money from the,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
So
there's a lot of planning.
I just didn't know whether they'd done it yet.
I don't
Great.
think so, because Mike and I talked about a couple of other things in this room that I don't see yet, so.
Well, I think too, Ashley's works remotely, so she probably has some good gear over
Yeah.
and her end as well, so.
Might be.
All right, I'm gonna forward you the, what I got from Mary, and this is the draft of what we're gonna be looking at. The attachment,
Thank you.
no worries.
Alan's doing last.
So Betsy, did you get
Oh.
these two documents prior to the meeting?
No, I,
2 minutes before.
I was wondering why you didn't circulate it to your members.
She literally got it moments as she was.
All right, you're up on it.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's Al.
And so
Al.
Al will need it as well.
Al,
Happy New Year, Al.
there's Al, and we got a fellow CPA here to join the team, Al. If you look on the screen, you can see Ashley Maher, who's going to be joining us on Finance Committee. Nat and Sean have both retired. So I'm trusting we can do the math, which means we're still one member light. So, if you know anyone that would be interested or as a contributing member, please don't hesitate to bring them up. All right, here we go. Ashley, let me know if you get that, all right? It's just an attachment to what email I just sent.
So Ashley.
Oh, Al, you need it too?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I did hear Ashley's introduction. And I'm a former denizen of PricewaterhouseCoopers. So welcome, Ashley.
Thank you so much.
It's great. And Ted Flynn was our fearless leader when I was doing my CPA days. So welcome aboard. This is going to be great.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Al, I just forwarded you the spreadsheet for the transfers in your email.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
No worries.
Ashley,
Oh, JR has Ashley?
Ashley, I want to point out one thing.
JR.
That do you notice everybody that's on the committee has said the word former? So, if you can think of anybody that's active instead of former, might be a good idea.
Although,
I didn't know that we're still light one person, so I could definitely work on some people.
Right.
Good job.
but JR, former means institutional knowledge, so
Yeah, you know,
don't discount that.
Oh, okay,
Not
sorry.
lacking.
Before we get started, Ashley, I just want to give you a heads up. I will be adding you to our email distribution list. We use a generalized email account for communicating with the Finance Committee, and so you'll be added as a member of that in order to start receiving emails about our meetings and agenda topics, okay?
Perfect.
All right, beautiful. Okay. Mary, did you want the appointment letter for? You don't care.
No, I don't need it. That's between the moderator and the town clerk.
All right, great, perfect. So just scoot down, see Sue Kelly at your convenience. And it'll take, less than a minute for you to get sworn in, just what you're there for.
Will do.
All right, great. Thank you so much. All right, Mayor.
All right, you guys ready? Does everybody have the schedule in front of them?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, thank
So-
you.
Before we go through the details, just for Ashley's edification and anybody else who might be following along. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 33B, statutes allow communities during the last essentially 6 weeks of the fiscal year. So, or beginning up through July 15th, we can do what are called budget transfers. And those budget transfers need to be approved by the Finance Committee as well as the Select Board. And the purpose of allowing communities to do these budgetary transfers at the end of the year is when we establish a budget, our budget is our plan that is compiled and developed based on knowledge of what we anticipate happening during the fiscal year. And as we all know, things change during the course of the fiscal year. Circumstances require that some line items need additional funding, whereas other line items, we find that we have surpluses. So we are able to move those appropriations that were previously voted by town meeting. We're able to reallocate those appropriations to deal with situations that have occurred during the fiscal year. So the Finance Committee previously took action on one set of transfers, and tonight we're going to take action on the second and final set of transfers in order for us to close out fiscal 25, which is the fiscal year ended June 30 of 2025. So the schedule that you have in front of you at the top lists the funding sources where the appropriations are available and coming from, essentially where the surpluses are. And the items listed at the bottom below the heavy weighted line is where those appropriations are being allocated to in order to address deficit situations. So if we start at the top with the line item, the funding sources where they're coming from, you'll see that the majority of the funds are coming from salary line items where we have experienced a large number of vacant positions during the fiscal year. And as a result, those appropriations that were intended to cover the cost of positions, with those positions not being filled, those dollars are available to reappropriate. The largest item there, which is the fuel depot. Fuel depot is, if you're aware, the gas pumps that are located at the fire department where our town vehicles.
No, never mind, to keep going.
Where all of our town vehicles go in order to fill up their gas tanks, acquire fuel. And so there is a surplus in the fuel depot line of $89,000. And I've had some questions on that. It was really due in large part to the mild winter that we had. And therefore we had fewer trucks needing to be filled up during the winter and storm seasons. And so as a result, those funds are available. I do want to caution you, however, though, given that there is a surplus in that line item, that does not automatically mean for a future budget cycle that we would be reducing that budget, because we need to make sure that we have the funding available in order to fuel up our vehicles and cover all of those storm-related events. It just so happened that we thankfully had a mild winter. And I think hopefully Murphy's Law will not come into play this year, given our fiscal constraints that we're gonna have a really bad winter. I'm praying for a mild one again.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. So let's go through the line items where we have deficits. We'll start with the selectmen's line item.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
On the accounts that we've just transferred, are those accounts zeroed out?
The ones where the funding sources are coming from?
Yes,
Not entirely, some are, but not all of them.
so there will be some funds from those accounts going into the
Free cash.
free cash. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So all the unpaid bills are paid.
No, we don't know what unpaid bills exist, right?
For next year,
Because
well, all the ones that.
The ones
we
for
get.
this year, because we had approved a series of unpaid bills, and we don't expect them anymore to come.
nope, I'm not saying that. So those unpaid bills that were approved at town meeting were for last fiscal year.
Okay, okay.
So we won't know.
Until
what-
we end up this year, okay,
Exactly.
gotcha, okay.
Exactly. And so this is just dealing with existing expenses, that have been identified.
But this is sort of off topic as usual.
Teddy.
So we still have we hired a veterans agent?
So how about if I go through that when we
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. So veteran services at the top. So the answer is no. And we do have part-time coverage from our previous.
So Mike Thorpe is covering.
Mike Thorpe is covering. So Sarah Lansing left, went over to the town of
Right.
Kingston. Mike Thorpe has been covering on a part-time basis. However, the town of Duxbury is currently engaging in discussions and negotiations with the town of Kingston to regionalize veteran services.
Good idea.
Yeah.
And so, one of the really great things is that our former VSO is over there. She's familiar with our membership, our clientele, our residents here. And so it would be great to have her back.
And she did a great job. You did a great job.
She did a great job, for sure. So we're working through regionalizing those services.
Is she endorsing that?
Yes,
Okay, good.
yes. Okay, good question.
Hmm.
Okay, excellent. All right. So selectmen's line.
You told me to shut up yet.
Thanks, young Teddy. Thanks, young.
Selectmen salaries and wages. We had an extended leave. There was a person who was out on extended leave during the fiscal year, which was unanticipated when the budget was built. And the person that was in the office needed to perform out of grade services. And so there was an unexpected increase in that line item. Finance, professional and technical services. This is for consulting and training. This is for a couple of things. In anticipation of the budget, the FY 26 budget that was adopted back in March and the failure of the override, we knew that we were going to have a reduction in the accounting office as well as in the assessing office. And so in preparation of absorbing some of those duties, I sent some folks who to some advanced training in order to start to give them some knowledge and experience with absorbing some of those tasks. And so that is to cover the cost of some of that training. In addition, we've also engaged some consulting services to assist with the required state reporting that is needed as we close out the books for fiscal 25 and prepare those required reports that are due to the state at specific deadlines over the course of the next several months.
Do they receive any new certifications, Mary, or was it just kind of more of a uptick in?
No, they did not receive certifications because the certification process is a long process.
No, but this will allow us to meet the deadlines that the state and the DOR has.
Well, the
for us.
recordings are rigorous.
Yes.
And
Yes.
if you haven't done it before, they needed some training, and I applaud Mary for getting ahead of it and getting them out there to
I
get
sort
some
of
of the
this is
training.
precursor to perhaps further along the line for certification for the folks in that department.
Oh, I see what you're saying, sure.
The intent, so the training that some of them received is in fact the training that leads to the certification path.
Okay.
But that certification path takes a minimum of 3 years before you're even eligible to sit for the test.
But it's something, succession planning and all that good
Correct.
stuff, right? Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
Okay. Audit, there are additional audit fees for the CFA audit that we will be experiencing, which is the schedule of expenditures for federal awards. Under assessing
Excuse
consulting.
me, since we're at audit,
Yes.
can I mention again that we need to have an audit committee meeting to get caught up because the other two members are on my back saying, when are we going to meet?
We do, so the CAFR was submitted to the GFOA on June 30th. And so once we receive the final copy from the auditors, then we'll distribute that to you and schedule a meeting.
All right, got that out?
You're muted. Oh,
Yes.
Excellent.
so while
Thank you.
we're on this stuff, you two want to continue on audit, yes?
Al, do you wish to continue on audit?
Yes.
Okay, Fred?
Fine,
Okay,
I
thank
just
you.
got appointed, so I might as well stay a little bit longer.
Right, all right. So,
Although I had to think Ashley, once she gets her feet wet, might be a very good candidate for it going forward.
let's not drown the poor child. So-
That's what I said,
yeah.
let's get her feet wet first.
Let's see if she likes it.
Give her a week.
All right. Assessing consulting services. So we have, as you are all aware, we've had a transition in our assessing office. And so as a result, we have engaged some services of a consultant to assist with the interim update that needs to be completed over the summer in order for us to set our tax rate for the coming fiscal year in the fall. Under treasurer collector, this is for professional services, postage and supplies. We've had some additional mailings with the increase in water bills, converting to quarterly billing, increase in demand notices, the programming that was required to change the front and back of the water bill. We had to engage consultants to do that programming, and additional postage for the treasurer's office.
Do we have to, physically mail those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because we can't require everybody to have an email address. Legal services, so we had talked about this before to give you guys a heads up that there would be a deficit in the legal services line. Labor Council, first and foremost, is it's an additional $1,200. The monthly fee for our Labor Council increased mid-year. And so we need to cover the mid-year increase, which amounted to $1,200. And going forward for fiscal 26, we have already in the 26 budget budgeted for that increased rate. Under legal services itself, I handed out a schedule for you to identify and demonstrate this one. Unfortunately, Al and Ashley, I will have to email you after the fact because I did not send this to Betsy electronically. But this is a list of the cases for which our town council, KP Law, and some other legal representation that we engaged for specific purposes. This is the list of cases and the costs that we incurred during the fiscal year so that you can see the deficits that in both of those budgets. You'll see that the deficit listed on this schedule is just about 47,000, and I am including 48,000 on this schedule, and that is because we reached out to one of our other legal entities, the other Count One firm that provides specialty counsel services to see what their additional June bill would look like, and we need to take that into consideration.
I'm hearing you. I just took a picture. I just
Oh,
sent
okay,
it to the two of you. You just got an email with the fees.
So these are all ongoing?
Yes. Well, I won't say all, generally speaking. I mean, it depends on what the town and the select board chooses to do, for example, with MBTA zoning, and some of the others, but for the most part, as you can read the list of cases, there are some that are definitely still ongoing.
On the legal, one question I have is, $276 for marijuana. Was that what I smelled at the town meeting?
Stop it.
Who got to use that? I mean, I didn't get any. You?
You're
I don't
right.
think they were passing around the dime bag.
Moving
All
on,
right.
moving on.
But I
moving
do
on.
see a large concentration in one particular case.
Correct,
Is that still ongoing or has that been settled?
ongoing.
So that bill's just running higher.
It isn't necessarily us pursuing it as much as us defending against it.
Right.
Fair
Right.
statement.
Correct.
But we don't want to really go drill down too much on what the cases are.
Well, no, it's not our place. I get that, but I was just hoping that maybe these were concluded, but
Well,
apparently not.
some people keep suing us.
That's why I asked the question, what can we anticipate for the budget to be for? You know. Years.
The town meetings, was that was for the.
And that's impossible because it depends on what people
But you-
choose to
when-
pursue for action.
When you're putting together the budget for legal services, you're basing it on something, right?
Basing it on, you know, a 5-year average. And an estimate of costs from town council. But we have no idea what's gonna come up during the year. You know, over and above sort of the routine.
I understand, but you have to baseline it at some point.
Right.
Okay. All
Was
set?
the town meeting just a special, or that included?
That's all of
The
them.
two specials and the annual?
It's all of them.
Okay.
That's the total fiscal year expenditure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Town clerk, speaking of special town meeting, that is the cost for us renting the voting equipment for that special town meeting. And we were anticipating a much larger crowd given the agenda item, and so that's why the expense is fairly significant. Under the planning department, so when we processed transfer number 1, I was a little overzealous in using some of the salary funding, and I need to restore $2,000 back to that line item in order to make that line whole. Under facilities, so we hired a new facilities director after the FY25 budget was set. So our previous director had left at the end of 24. And we brought on a new director at a higher rate of pay, and then that department also incurred some additional overtime during the course of the year. So there's funding needed for that.
That was a great hire.
So phenomenal hire.
She's unbelievable.
Amazing. Under animal control, tiny amount needed for vacation coverage. There were additional hours of vacation coverage, but they were able to be absorbed by some surpluses in other lines in that budget. But this is the remainder that needs to backfill for that budget.
Oh, my.
Under the pool, so utilities for the pool, we saw a pretty significant price spike in utilities. I know people also felt that at home in their own electric and gas bills. We felt it here in the community. However, with respect to the pool, there was also there was some repair and maintenance work that was done at the pool. And in order for that repair and maintenance work to be completed, it required that we actually had the doors open to the building. And so unfortunately, as a byproduct of that, the utility costs, the utilities, the heat and cooling in the building were working overtime because it was exposed to the elements. So we're seeing a one-time spike there in those 2 line items to cover that deficit. Under beach ops, so you guys have heard lots and lots about the snowy owl season, right? We've talked about that in a number of meetings,
I still think we should sell T-shirts.
And so as a result, we incurred some additional cost of having to have additional staff at the beach to manage that process when we had a lot of folks out there viewing and photographing snowy owls. And but we also concurrently saw a pretty significant increase in the sale of our stickers in order for people to access the beach to the tune of I will tell you, so last year's off-season sales was about $6,800. And this year's off-season sales was just under 35,000.
Oh, good.
For an incremental increase of just under 28,000.
We'll take it.
So. There you go. The next one is,
But what was the incremental cost? Because we had to staff it up.
well, so this is part of it, right?
Yeah, part of it, right there.
But some of it was also absorbed by, the people who were on salary, who were also out there with our existing department heads who had to provide services.
They're going 24/7.
Correct.
It's awful.
So then the next one is beach ops for the month of June. So interestingly enough, over the last number of years, the beach has historically been closed effectively for the month of June due to plovers. And then it reopens up at some point, sort of mid-July, later July. Well, this year we experienced a storm and that storm displaced the plovers. And what it ended up resulting in is access to the beach. And so we were in fact open for the month of June and a lot of folks enjoyed the beach. But when the budget has been prepared in years past, given the closure, those services needed for the month of June were not included in the budget. So we found ourselves sort of in a good situation, that people had access to the beach, but now what we're seeing is those closures have now been pushed into July. So we've just sort of had a transition. So these are these things that you don't anticipate happening when you prepare your budget, but here we are talking about them. Next one is state aid charges, and the description here is school assessments. I should just have said assessments. So what happened is there were a number of things that increased with respect to state assessments. So you know how we received money from the state on the cherry sheet, but they also take money away in the form of assessments. One significant thing that happened was the state last year, when they calculated charter school assessments for communities, they miscalculated it. And so a number of communities, Duxbury included, was hit with an unexpected assessment for that miscalculation. That unexpected increase was not budgeted because we did not know that there was a mistake from the state. So we had to cover and absorb that in FY 25. That was about $29,000. In addition to that, there were a number of other assessment line items where the price of the assessment increased mid-year. So those changes happen by the state after our budget is set. So we've got to make up that deficit here during this process.
So Fred, you earlier asked if I had seen this ahead of time, and it was about 10 minutes before I left the house. My one question to Mary is, why aren't the schools paying for these assessments? So Mary, the answer is?
These assessments are included in the town's general fund portion of the budget under other amounts to be raised. It's not part of the school's budget.
Is it because it's on the cherry sheet?
Cherry sheet.
But I knew that question would have come to you eventually.
Does this have any reflection? So I'm thinking kind of in a macro world, right? So the fund on the cherry sheets, obviously for our state allocation from the tax revenue, right?
Mhm.
Right? Is it that cherry sheet mass tax only, or does that include any kind of revenue from the feds?
So let me clarify, because the cherry sheet is not directly attributable to taxes. So the cherry sheet is money that every community receives from the overall state budget. So the state has a variety of funding sources, They collect income tax, but their biggest funding source is capital gains tax. And a variety of other fees and charges. All of that revenue makes up the revenue for the state budget.
Okay.
And then the state in turn allocates to communities to receive funding from them.
But it's Commonwealth based.
It's Commonwealth based, it's from the state budget.
I'm trying to anticipate any dips. I mean, what we're hearing in the news with all the, with all of the bills being passed in Congress. I'm trying to anticipate maybe some of those changes trickling through into the states.
The whole process starts with the governor's budget, and the governor compiles a budget based on what they anticipate will be available revenues.
Right.
But they ended up with more by the time it all settled for last year, the state,
So for FY 25 or 26?
last year.
For 25, yeah.
So last, yeah.
They did, but that does not translate.
Oh, no, no,
into
no,
any
no, no, no,
increases
no.
for charity.
So, yeah, exactly right. So
Yeah.
they're guaranteed to be somewhat wrong no matter what they do as far as anticipating their budget the same way we are.
A budget is an estimate.
Right, it's an estimate.
Right.
Or
There
stuff
is-
happens.
Are we budgeted for the snowy owl season? Going forward?
That's a good question, Ted. As I think about it, the answer is more than likely no, because that snowy owl season happened. Right around the time that we were having town meetings, so the budget was already set. For FY 26.
I was
So-
wondering more in anticipation of next year.
I think it would just be part of the overall beach ops budget. You should look at what it costs us when we see what it costs us this year in total. And
Right.
Yeah.
average it out so we'll add an amount probably, because we didn't save any money in beach ops this year, so.
But the guy that brings oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The guy that brings the snowy owls down to Duxbury Beach is not a wildlife, is a volunteer, isn't he?
I have no idea.
I mean, there's actually someone that gets them from Logan and brings them down to Duxbury.
How does he bring them down?
Because they're safer. It was some preservation situation.
Hmm.
I don't know. I could
You
have
mean the
dreamt,
snowy
I
owl
could have
isn't-
dreamt this up. in the
Isn't it a
middle of the-
natural occurrence? They fly to the beach on their migratory.
Yeah. Or maybe they come back, but maybe
I didn't think they were transplanted here.
Oh, no, they were all imported.
they were, thank you, JR.
There may be one or something like that when, when they.
But
see
they've
another-
been snowy owls out there for years. I mean,
Yeah,
And they've been bringing them down from Logan for years. It's just now with.
they're native to
internet
Boston.
And everything else,
They're native to-
everybody
yeah.
found out about. We've had snowy owls out there for.
But they bring them down. And I don't know if since they've been brought down, they then return the next year. Or whether it's going to be
once you
depending on
discovered Duxbury, wouldn't you come back?
when they're on the shuttle bus. I don't understand. It's interesting.
Fair enough.
They're on the Logan Express.
something new
They're on the
today.
Logan
No.
Express.
but I think maybe the future, the next year, we ought to have something in the budget for snowy owl season. Since they come back
Daily
every
dollar
year.
short, teddy bear. It's
Fair enough.
the budget's dead.
We ought to,
Understood.
Who's got the beach out budget? We'll have to make sure.
Well, hence the idea to sell a t-shirt.
FY 27, obviously that'll be a conversation. What I anticipate for the end of FY 26 is we're gonna be sitting here in July of next year. Doing a transfer for
Right.
for that,
For that line item, yeah.
Right.
depending upon the popularity. And how we
must
have
be
to staff it,
great. Get that.
Right.
okay?
Because we're part of.
All right, we've talked enough about birds.
All right, life insurance. So we had a mid-year rate increase for life insurance and we had some additional subscribers, so we have a deficit that needs to be covered there. Medicare is mandatory federal withholdings for payroll, which we always budget very conservatively and we always true it up at the end of the fiscal year. And the last one is under our insurance category, there was a premium increase for workers' comp due to our claims experience, where we had some higher claims and therefore we are incurring higher costs due to that. So the sum total of those transfers is $239,642.
And then we're square for the end of the year.
Correct.
Promise?
Well done.
Good job.
Thank you.
We like it tick and tag. I'm curious though on Medicare, and it occurred to me after we had spoken, that we had so many vacancies that I'm surprised that there was a shortfall, but it is what it is.
So remember that Medicare is on, everything that we pay, so people even pay, who are paid out of grants, police details, which we can't predict with any, 100% accuracy. So all of those items need to pay Medicare and they're variable, which is why we try not to over budget that and we try to true it up at the end of the year. I'm not sure what the
I
feedback
think it's
is.
just a little feedback. No, I thought it was someone trying to break in, but I think it's just your voice break
Oh.
feedback.
It could just be Al.
It's me.
Blame Al.
Not one of
Could be Al. Could be, probably Al. All right,
Did you say snow?
you wanna vote?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Move to approve the fiscal year 25 transfer number 2 in the amount of $239,642 as discussed by our finance director, Mary McKinnon.
Second,
All right, we have folks, Al's there, Al,
Aye.
all right, Teddy,
Teddy guy.
JRI.
Brenda,
that's it, aye.
Kathleen, I.
Ashley, if we have remote people, then we have to do a roll call, so. All right, you'll be voting next time. All right, great. Speaking of next time. Can we discuss how we want to kick this off? I mean, there is no way we're going to wait until October or November to break the news that there needs to be an override presented. Well, last year, that was kind of our marching orders that we didn't want to say the override word until after the first budget was done, and I don't think that we need to play by those rules anymore.
I think you brought that up at the special.
I bring it up anytime anybody stops me in the grocery store, but so as such, and without making Mary cry, what is our, what is our plan of action for the rest of the summer, or how would you best be served with us approaching another year of a 2-budget system? Shoot me now.
So there is going to be another year of a 2-budget system.
Shoot me now is the rest of that sentence.
Yeah, so you guys know that the select board, we've had several meetings with the select board starting back in the end of April, beginning of May. Where information was supplied to them with respect to forecasts and projections at a real high level. They then digested that information, asked for some more detailed information, which was supplied to them. And then at the beginning of June, they had a conversation to set their priorities or their strategy with respect to the budget. And so now the next step is that strategy needs to be put pen to paper to develop a budget message and directive to our department heads. Town manager prepares that, and he had been on vacation for a couple of weeks, so now that he's back, we will get that bubbled up on the priority list in order to establish that directive and issue it out to the departments so that they can then start to build their budget. And they will be preparing 2 iterations. One will be the base budget with some parameters, and the other would be additional funding that may or may not be, that may be needed in a given department. And then we will give them time to put their budgets together so that we understand what the expenditures look like and where we need to start making cuts in order to present to you guys and to the select board, an iteration of a balanced budget. So that's gonna take a little bit of time. So as soon as we have the budget message developed, then we'll lay out the calendar. And then we'll share that calendar with you of what that looks like.
So I was at those meetings and I did not hear anything that approached a consensus from the select board to guide you in that process. And I don't know if anybody else has listened.
Yeah.
It was all over the map. Some departments were mentioned that don't even exist, which was exciting. So I would, Is there a drop dead on this, or how is it that we're going to, I mean, it is unfair for you to then be presented with the strategy in September and just make it impossible for us to do the job that is necessary to come back to the community and have a successful override.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that we don't repeat, our experience of last year. Right, and and that's really the strategy part of it, right, and the prioritization of said strategy. And when listening, I was not able to attend the select board meetings, but I do listen to them on the, the video. And I agree with Betsy, it was very difficult to ascertain if they had directionally, if they were all in the same way.
It was
same
pretty easy
path.
to determine that they weren't.
Mary, keep the poker face. Don't admit to anything.
Good, yeah.
No, of course.
I just want to make sure that there is time for the select board, particularly the select board, to have an opportunity to bring the strategy to the community in a way that people can level set on what a possible override would look like. Maybe it isn't 7 million, right? Maybe it is a phased approach to fund necessary, right, services such as public safety, et cetera, in the town's budget. And I think that if we don't have that leadership, we may be repeating a very uncomfortable year.
Is there anything this board can do to work cooperatively with the select board or, request that, they have to have this strategy, they have to. I mean, to be perfectly candid about it, I sense some concern from the chair that he had 3 meetings without coming to an answer. And I know you can't answer this because obviously you're not a mind reader, but would it be helpful if we got on their agenda, if we had some kind of a group meeting? I don't know, but we can't let it just all of a sudden be, oh, by the way, it's August.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm trying to put all of you on the spot, but we do need to help push them along. Because other than that, I mean, summer happens and all of a sudden it will be August and we haven't got an answer.
Al's
Well,
raising his hand.
yep,
Yeah, if I could, we're not touching base on something that is pretty obvious that happened, with us present at the special town meeting. So am I incorrect in perceiving that we're starting this budget off without any directive from Board of Selectmen or anybody else in the hole with what I saw was an emotional decision by the town to provide police and fire with funds, as worthy as that may be. But let's discuss how that affects the overall situation that we're now looking at and going forward with Rainey and Mary, who will be putting their heads together, going back and forth with several iterations with the Board of Selectmen, then putting out some kind of policy memo. I'm sitting back here and thinking, well, it looks like we're all already in a hole. The town has pretty much identified that it's going to kind of balance in favor of public safety, and that's great. But that's going to, I think, color going forward. So I'd like to get some feedback from the rest of you about that.
I don't know if the town is, turned its back on education or any other
Oh,
department.
no, I'm not saying, Betsy, no, that's not anywhere. I'm not going anywhere near that. Of course, the town's not turning its back on education. I'm simply saying that was an action by a group of concerned citizens to put us, in my view, $500,000 in the hole. This takes away from nobody. It makes no criticism of any department. I'm just looking at the plain fact of what happened on June 16th. And I'm saying to
Right.
myself,
Now, instead of
okay, we can go through
600,000,
all the motions and paper shuffling that we want to, but how are we going to deal with that set of facts?
well, instead of being 600,000 short as a predicted, we are now 1 million plus
Right.
short, right?
Yeah,
If indeed,
Yep.
if indeed the positions that were reinstated continue to be held.
Great, so that's a good place that's where the starting line has moved to. So I'm only suggesting that we think about this because it'll save us a lot of time and heartache going forward if we put that on the table squarely in front of us and say, this is where we begin. And I think any discussion about this department of that school, et cetera, is not necessarily on point because obviously the schools are of paramount importance in the town. But now we have departments that do services that don't have the sex appeal of a fire department and an ambulance service. I mean, that's reality. And that's what we got to deal with.
I think, Al, I take absolutely to heart your comment about this, there was a lot of emotionally charged conversation and discussion, as we went into this special, right, around public safety. And was that the way to approach? In my mind, no. But I think from the strategy with select board, I think that has to be front and center. That $1 million deficit has to be front and center in their discussion. To start the conversations and start to put that into their strategy.
but are they willing to discuss that? That is the starting
Yeah,
point in my
that's
mind.
good.
We're $1
That's good.
million in the hole
Right,
for next year, period. If we do nothing else, add no one, detract no one, we're $1 million in the bucket.
Right.
So are we gonna do something about that or, you know,
Yeah,
So part of the reason that I voted to reinstate those positions is, in my mind, a lot of that money would have been spent in overtime anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not, in my opinion, it's not the full 500,000 that we spent because we actually saved a lot of overtime money. Because the job has to get done, and you have to have somebody to do it.
Right.
So what bothers me about the whole process is, and last year's process, and I feel somewhat guilty about it, is that we were presented a budget that was made by the town manager and Mary in finance. And also, we had the input of a special board or special committee that was supposed to look ahead and come up with reasons that this was necessary. And we also had meetings with the public to explain the budget and everything else that the select board sat at. And I don't believe they made one recommendation for a change.
No.
And so now, all of a sudden, the select board says they were all wrong, or somebody was wrong. And I kind of got feeling like it was pointed in our direction. But, they had an opportunity, so. Bottom line is, I think we ought to go back and let the town manager, finance director, finance committee come up with a budget, present it to the selectmen. It is their budget. Present it to the selectmen and let's, ride that horse. But it just, everything was kind of presented to us, and I admit that I kind of said, okay, with all these people with their input,
Made sense.
it made sense. So I'm not gonna be as nice this year as I was last year.
No, I think we can't.
But I do think that the select would have to come to a consensus early.
I agree.
Yeah.
Give us a job, let us go to work, get this thing done.
ostensibly the leaders of the town, the governing body.
They're it.
Go,
So
you know,
let's
do
do it.
something bold.
Yeah.
Start off with the fact that you guys have to figure out how to get over the $1 million hole we're in for next year.
Well,
And will they do it?
I think there's not a consensus there on how to solve that problem. I think some would say, well, let's let some more people go.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, that
And-
is the decision of the select board. That's not our decision.
Well, that's what I'm
Right,
saying.
that's
If they're,
right,
they're
so-
struggling with that, because they don't know exactly. As a group of 5 people, they don't have the same answer to the same question.
Well,
So
they
they're
can't
trying to figure out between themselves, so it's hard to translate
time
to,
score to
to
overtake
town
them.
manager and,
Time-
and the
time-
finance director,
Yeah.
let alone us,
I agree.
what it is they really would like to see. And I think the idea that JR has is they should, and hopefully common sense prevails, because I think it makes sense for you, the town manager, to put together a budget proposal. And these are the options. This is what we need to run the town. Let them then weigh in on it earlier this year than we did last year, I guess, so they have more time to think about
I
it.
don't think that'll change.
And
No.
What do you like and what do you don't like? Are you okay with an override, or are you absolutely dead against an override? Give us feedback from what we think as your finance people, what we think is important, and then you can then react to it and just say, no, we don't like this. And do some of the things that you suggested weren't done last year, criticize it, say no.
Right.
And have a debate between the 5 of you, so you can come to a consensus. And if you vote 3-2 on something, so be it. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm looking at the select board presentation of Milton, and they actually have a select board guidance action item of override or not. So the tone was really from the select board and the direction was from the select board. I don't know who makes up the select board in Milton and what their backgrounds are, but they absolutely steer the ship in terms of the directive for the rest of the government of an override or not. And
That's
I
what
want to
I'm
dig into Milton because they successfully passed like a $9.5 million override this in the spring.
Yeah, per Mass General Law, the select board is the governing body that authorizes whether an override is put
That's correct.
to the town or not. They're the only ones that can make the decision of whether an override is brought forward to town meeting.
And the
Yeah.
amount.
But this looked
And
like they
also-
gave that direction to the finance folks like early on in the season, right after the budgets were prepared end of summer of like, are we going after an override or not?
Ashley, thank you very much for that information, because we've heard it. And my sense is that that will be passed along to hopefully each of the members of the Board of Selectmen, so that they may do some looking around themselves, because I think that collegiality can be very helpful. I know that we've done that on the MBTA Communities Act vis-a-vis our struggles with that and the town of Milton, et cetera. So thanks for the very timely input and comment.
Thanks.
Which kind of circles back to where I started this conversation, which is what do we do to encourage the select board to come up with a strategy so that people can get to work? And being very clear with them that our attitude is going to be very questioning, and that we expect them to be engaged and not say, I don't know. We haven't got that luxury this year. And what, if we could get on the agenda and, go to them and say, look, here's a clock, you've gotta give us that. Because the last meeting that I went to, I left and I was shaking my head because there was no consensus with the 5-member board, nor was there any serious direction to Rainey or Mary as to how to begin. And we just haven't got the luxury of that this year.
Time will overtake us.
Yeah.
As it did last year.
So
enough of that.
would you think it would be helpful for us to get on their agenda to speak to that, or what do you want to do? Or what don't you want us to do?
Is there a possibility of even doing like, does it have to be like at a select board meeting? Is it possible to do something that is more, I don't know, I'm not suggesting that under the cover of darkness or anything, that it would have to be on the up and up, but that we could come together in a less formal setting, right? And
Can't do that. I think.
Well, new challenges present new opportunities, and I think maybe this is as we're going around the room, both Ted and JR made some suggestions. What about a working meeting that's publicly posted, invite everybody in the world to come to it and just discuss some of these topics and talk about towns like Milton and others that may have had similar situations, and let's discuss and then get feedback from the Board of Selectmen as to what they want to do. I think time is of the essence. We've got now between now and Labor Day to, I think, help out Rainey and Mary, give them a little bit of structure. I mean, I don't think it's too much to ask or too big a toll to take to say to the selectmen, okay, what do you think? What are the guidelines that you can live within? Rather than wait until the very end and find ourselves in a similar pickle.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a fait accompli. We should be sharing our knowledge with each other, right, and being supportive
Right.
and the spirit of collegiality, Al.
I suggest we.
Exactly, thank you.
Of the board. And have a conversation, just call on the phone and say, hey, we're worried about this. How can we work together to go forward? I'll call them if you like.
Brian?
Yeah.
Start with this,
Why don't we do that? I'll just give them a call, unless you want to do it, Madam Chair. I won't.
no,
It's something you
that's,
want to do, but
you know, I.
I've got a relationship with him and we know each other. I'll call him up and say, hey,
Well, he was trying
we're worried.
I
What can we do to move the ball?
I will give him kudos because at that meeting, he was trying very desperately to keep everybody coming back to on point, trying to get a
Party
decision
checks.
and it was not successful.
Well, I say we
so,
start there.
yeah,
I'll make
exactly.
the call and I'll communicate with you.
I really like Friend's idea, Betsy, and if you support that, let's go for it. The sooner the better, an informal conversation, and let's get the juices going. The more we can do that and prime this pump, the better off everybody's going to be, because then we face things in a very timely manner. And we've got enough time so that there's a sense of urgency without a sense of crisis. So let's
Right.
avoid the crisis.
Politicization of this off the table and really talk about the finances,
Right,
not talk about constituencies and whatever. Right, where I'm going with this.
right.
Everything
What else you
honestly
got,
brokered conversation.
Anything else on the agenda?
I don't think so.
I have one question for Linda. Are we caught up with minutes through the annual and the special, or do we have some still outstanding?
We have some thoughts here.
Okay, great.
When are we gonna meet again?
I
That,
don't think we.
Meeting.
huh? TBD, okay,
Yeah, we don't have a-
all right, move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well.